I'm Paul Farmer, and I'm one of many people working as part of Partners in Health, which is an organization, social justice organization, working now in 8 countries. And we started this organization when we were students, and we're very grateful that there are so many students now in this country, and I suppose in others. I know among the poor in Haiti and Malawi and Rwanda, there are lots of students who want to support this work, but in the United States also there are more and more students who are helping us to move forward this agenda, this basic agenda for rights for the poor. Well, students have a crucial role in fighting global AIDS because we're talking about American students by and large. And the students who I mentioned in Haiti or Rwanda or Malawi, Lesotho, they already care about these issues because their families are affected. But there's something really special about having American students involved, and that is, it's not because of direct connection. Their families are not that affected, really. Maybe a decade ago that was the case, but now it's really a solidarity movement. And students have altered the landscape in very profound ways. They make it easier. Students who are pushing for access to treatment, better prevention, students who are doing that are making it easier for people like me, doctors working in these places, to do our work. So I believe that American students are creating a policy environment, pushing for a policy environment where it makes it easier for us to do our work. Face AIDS is a great example. You know, there are lots of, we made this distinction in Partners in Health between solidarity, which is, some would say, the most noble of human sentiments, and pragmatic solidarity. And the difference between solidarity and pragmatic solidarity is, you know, I stand with the poor, I stand with the oppressed, I stand with the victims of violence. And pragmatic solidarity is saying, I stand with these people, but I'm also willing to make sacrifices or do something to make sure that there's a difference. And that's what Face AIDS does. Face AIDS is about moving resources from those who have a lot, maybe even too much, to those who have nothing. In order to broaden this, so it's not about one disease or 2 or 3, we need a real movement. And how do you start a movement? You know, we've been thinking about this a lot. How do you start a movement? Well, students on campuses have a great role to play in starting a movement. And I've been thinking back to the other great social movements, the civil rights movements, the human rights movements of the last couple of centuries, thinking about how did it work? You know, how did it work when in the late 18th century a small group of people said, well, we think that slave trade is a bad idea, we want to end it. How did they do that? Well, they did what Face AIDS is doing. They said, we have to have a really broad appeal. It can't just be about you know, the parliamentarians or the experts or the, you know, chastising those who are actually involved in slave trade. It has to be everybody, the citizenry. And if you look back at that effort to end the slave trade, which started in Britain in the late 18th century and was successful, you know, in less than 50 years, you'll find that student groups even then were very active. And so we're focused on our own expertise, you know, public health, infectious disease, reinforcing primary health care, but we know we can't do this the right way without broad support. And our natural entry point to a movement is, of course, universities and high schools, but especially universities, medical schools, because many of us teach in those settings. And I think that's an example that it sounds kind of obscure, or maybe it doesn't sound relevant because it happened so long ago, but every major human rights effort that ever was successful in the last 200 years has involved a very broad support from the citizenry. And that's why we're so proud to be part of Face AIDS.